Now I want to get to this question that I posed for myself that we might put out on the tweets, which is, which player will be the most impactful transfer of 2022? Okay. This is a 3-part series. First part today. We'll do another part second week. We'll do a third part in the third week. One being, hey, the most obvious candidates. The next being slept on candidates. And the last being super slept on candidates. Dudes that probably even you didn't even think, oh, that dude could make an impact. Because that's what I do. I get into the marrow of the sport and I tease out what I think is most interesting and entertaining to you. I mean, not for nothing, but we led this show with recruiting news for a 2024 quarterback. You know I love this stuff. All right, obvious candidates for the most impactful transfer of 2022. At the front of the list for me, right, I'm putting Addison to the side because he hasn't transferred yet, is Jermaine Burton. Why? Because the last wide receiver from a Power 5 program that Nick Saban took in on scholarship turned out to be their best wide receiver on a national runner-up and the kind of player that the Detroit Lions traded up to go get in the first round. His name is Jameson Williams. Jermaine Burton is showing up with a national championship ring to go to the team that he beat, that lost to him, because he believes that Holman Wiggins and Nick Saban can develop him into the kind of talent that Jameson Williams was. I think that when you're bringing that kind of guy in, especially with what they lost, John Mechie and Slade Bolden, you're going to get better in a hurry. Add him to what Ja'Cory Brooks can bring you and Cam Latu. You're going to have a lot of fun over there. Next on the list, Spencer Rattler at South Carolina. I was kind of out on this one as obvious until I heard some stories about my man Spencer heading over to South Carolina. My favorite being an offensive coordinator calls him up and he says, hey, look, they said that I suck at my job. They say that you suck at your job. Why don't we go and whoop they behinds together? That's my energy. Like, that's my energy, right? You know what I'm saying? Oh, what? I got a coach that wants to be on the program of Count to Monte Cristo with me? Talk about, nah, dog, we gonna go at this like the Count. Forget Edmond Dantes. Forget the first mate. Let's go get ours. I'm with that. I love that. Also, let's not forget Spencer is a ridiculous talent, right? I think one of the things that hurt him is putting on a bunch of weight in a hurry because his slight frame gave him so much more mobility, and his ability to throw the ball all the way over the field and at awkward angles is one of the things that made him unique and one of the things that set him apart in the sport. I hope he gets back to that. And Shane Beamer's just the kind of guy everybody wants to play for, right? Add to that, he's got Austin Stogner with him, and he's going to have a really good relationship already with perhaps their best pass-catching threat in the 6'6" Stogner. I like this move. Next one, we're going back to Alabama, going to Tuscaloosa. We're going to go with running back Jahmyr Gibbs, who is an outstanding talent on a bad Georgia Tech football team. Just the kind of player that the transfer portal was created for. Hey, this is a supreme talent. He wants to go play on another team full of supreme talents. Let's make that happen, right? Nobody's mad about this, except perhaps dudes that are in the backfield at Alabama, right? We'll see. Trey Sanders might have something to say about this. I still think that Trey Sanders is an outstanding player, but Gibbs is going to get a lot of the attention because of what he was able to accomplish at Georgia Tech and what he is following, really, at Alabama. A Brian Robinson that was really doggone good, and before him, we all know what kind of a talent Najee Harris was. Go to Nebraska. Go to Lincoln. Casey Thompson, quarterback, right? I love Casey Thompson's game. I like Casey Thompson's game at Texas. I had said that he was going to be one of my more impactful duos, him and Bijan Robinson, last year to start. He didn't start. He ended up getting the job back. He ends up transferring to Texas because you're bringing in Quinn Ewers and you're bringing in Malik Murphy, and there's just not room for him anymore. However, I think with Scott Frost, and I think really with Mickey Joseph and that wide receiving group, he could have a lot to do and a lot to improve upon in a Big Ten West that is not nearly the gargantuan battle that the Big Ten East is. We're talking about Iowa, Minnesota, right? Those are the teams that you have to worry about. Purdue, right? In the Big Ten West. I think Nebraska can get to where they can compete with those teams and really have a shot to win the Big Ten West championship. I think they could play in the Big Ten championship game against the Big Ten East representative. I really like Casey Thompson. Then I also need to add here, Donovan Raiola is the offensive line coach at Nebraska. So Dylan Raiola looked at his uncle and said, yeah, that's all right. I'll go to Ohio State. I'm sure there's lots of conversation in their household about this. Next on the list, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. Quinn reportedly signed $1 million NIL deal in Columbus, all to hand the ball off twice, right, at Ohio State. But then he put himself on really great footing with the transfer to Texas. We got to see a little bit of what he was capable of in the spring game. Really love watching this dude sling the ball around. Tremendous arm talent and one of the most talented recruits in the history of the rankings era, right? He and like 5 other players received a 1.000 rating from 247 Sports' composite, right? And that puts him on par with guys like Jadeveon Clowney. Add to that, Bijan Robinson behind him, Xavier Worthy to one side, Isaiah Nair to the other side, Jaleel Billingsley in the slot, perhaps alongside some Ajay Hall. That offense ought to be able to put 50 a game up. Next on the list is LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels. Remember I said we were going to talk about why Emory Jones needed to end up at Arizona State. It's because Jayden Daniels decided to go into the transfer portal and come out at Baton Rouge. It's not just that Jayden Daniels is pretty good moving around with the football, but also taking care of the football, right? It didn't go as planned for him last year, but I still think that he's a great talent. And I think that he fortifies a quarterback room at LSU that looked kind of dicey up until Brian Kelly solidified it. One, keeping Walker Howard on board, bringing Miles Brennan back, and then adding Jayden Daniels, right? This is after losing Max Johnson to Texas A&M and losing TJ Finley to Auburn. Like, this could have gone off the rails, and adding a guy like Jayden Daniels, giving him an opportunity to compete for the starting job. I think it's going to be he or Miles Brennan that gets the job, and then they're going to put Walker Howard on the shelf in case they do not win the Arch Manning sweepstakes. Really good for him. Could be terribly impactful, a la one Joe Burrow. Max Johnson is next on the list for me. Now, he's transferred to Texas A&M after starting at LSU. Ed Orgeron deciding to step down as the head coach at LSU had a lot to do with this, but I also think Jimbo Fisher being an outstanding quarterbacks coach had even more to do with that. I have questions about whether or not he's going to be the starter because Haynes King did not do a bad job until he got hurt, right? And if Zach Calzada can beat Alabama, either one of those dudes can beat Alabama. So I'm interested to see which one of those guys comes out on top. I think Connor Weigman's going to sit for this year because that's a smart thing to do. Just let him grow into it. Unless he proves himself to be the kind of talent that, say, Trevor Lawrence was, let him sit there for a little bit. Okay, next on the list, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, right? This is a former National Gatorade Player of the Year and a dude that was wearing eye black like he was Anakin Skywalker, but the bad Anakin Skywalker, when really I was going, hey man, be Star Child, be David Bowie. Probably doesn't even get that reference. Transferring to Ole Miss really was the place that I thought he should go from the jump. It's a natural move for him. You're replacing Matt Corral, but you're adding other dudes to help you out. Not just Michael Trigg, who came with him from USC, but also Zach Evans and Ulysses Bentley IV are your 2 tailbacks. They're going to be pretty fun to watch at Ole Miss, and I believe that they're probably going to finish in the middle of the pack, but they could have another opportunity to really make some noise like they did last year, going 10-3. Can't wait to watch that dude play. Moving to Zach Evans, who's also at Ole Miss. Zach's one of my favorite tailbacks in the 2020 class. He or Bijan Robinson, either one of those dudes, you'd have a great tailback, both of them coming out of 2020 class. Zach was a dude that every time he got the rock, you had to hold your breath because he has the skill and the ability to take it the distance. He's also just not the kind of dude anybody wants to tackle, right? He likes running into people. He likes running past people. I really can't wait to see what he does in an SEC West where the defenses are going to be really good, but he's going to be in great position to be great in Oxford. Okay. My last person that I want to talk about that is an obvious candidate to be the most impactful player in the 2022 season is Dillon Gabriel at Oklahoma. Yeah, I said it, right? Now, Oklahoma fans feel some kind of way about this. Everybody else feels some kind of way about this. When Dillon Gabriel's on, he's pretty outstanding. When he's off, he'll literally throw the football to a Boise State defensive back. I'm going to bet on him being more on with Jeff Lebby than off, right? I think that this partnership is really going to work for the two of them, put them both on pretty good footing in their first years at Norman. Well, Lebby's coming back to Norman, but his first year as that offensive coordinator at Norman, bring Brent Venables' defense, right? Like Ted Roof's going to be the defense coordinator, but we all know who this defense is going to be molded after. And you get to face that defense in practice every week. You get the energy of one Brent Venables. But I also think that there's a reason why there was a bidding war for Dillon Gabriel. First UCLA, then Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma. He's the guy, right? Behind him, he's got to have Nick Evers. We'll see if that actually turns out to be something. But I would like to see Nick decide to, you know, hold it together and let Dillon be the guy in 2022, unless he just doesn't see fit to do that. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 Ranked Show YouTube channel.